Uh, when Marianne invited me, I started to really help me to reflect a little bit about my career, why I went to Gainesville, and so I have to go. Was a nice exercise last night and today morning. So I went to my external hard drive to look for picture. I wanna really uh, see things that I haven't I haven't thought about. So this idea helped me to really think about myself a little bit. So I start to figure out I should do something related on decades, on no. So here I am with my father, a small town in Pará, where I grew up and work in the field basically, né? Growing crops and going to school at night and help my father raise my brothers once I was already ready to work early on in life. Uh, and then I moved to Acre in early 90s, where I had the opportunity to go to school. My sister moved to Acre and she invited me to live with her to see if I could get to the university. I didn't have no family in Belém, so I had to Acre, so I have a family support right there. And while in Acre, I got at the university, and was a very unique moment there because was really after Chico Mendes assassination, pre-ECO 92 conference in Rio. There was a lot of debate, environmental issue coming from my professors and people that I was getting involved in. That's why one guy, even Foster Brower, he's a scientist at Woods Hole Research Center. At that time, he was a professor at the Universidade Federal Fluminense in Rio de Janeiro. So I started to be part of his student, and he went to Acre to help the rubber tape movement on mapping the first extractive reserve created in the Amazon, basically Chico Mendes extractive reserve in Acre. So we start really going to the field and giving training, mapping where people were. The extractive reserve was recently created in 1990. And so I was one guy who was going to the field most of the time. Once I graduated in 1995, I started working through that work I was doing with him. I start to, that's some picture of that time. Was basically going to the place, see if people are there and what they have ideas for, on development issue and social organization. And once I graduated, I was invited to work with the United Nations Development Program. They were supporting the extractive reserve and the social movement, the robotape social movement. And there was created a larger program called pilot program to protect the Amazon rainforest, PPG7. That was really the first big experiment in Amazon conservation in the 90s. So I started to work with the United Nations Development Program. They support me for 4 years to help the extractive movement in several different issues: social organization, development planning, mapping. And so at that time, I spent almost 4 years and spending 2-3 weeks in the field all the time. And that's a little bit that picture I got last night that I guess represent a little bit this early stage of my career working Acre. And then I start to look for a graduate program and say it's time to go back to school, basically. And then I was doing a training. Mariane helped a lot to create an NGO in Acre called PESACRE that has a long legacy on helping smallholder population in Acre still out there. And I was doing a training with that NGO, and there was a guy who, the training is in the forest, it was in Chapuri, in the Seringal, the Robotape state. And that the guy was trained was Cartacho, who was Mariane student, and we lost him already several years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And Cartacho told me, Valerio, there is this program at University of Florida. So he told me in the end of the training, in the barbecue, and he said that, and he pointed to Mariane and said, that's the woman, he's the director there. Why don't you try to set up a meeting with her at some point? I say, no, I'm going there now. They say, no, we are drinking. Forget about it. So let me go talk to her now. I don't know if Mariane remember that. And then I present myself to Mariane and she say, come to PESACRE next week. We are going to have a more formal meeting. And she told me about the Fulbright program. That's the, and I applied to Fulbright. Did I change anything? Yeah.
Yep.
And I applied to Fulbright program, but I really forget about it. I didn't have time to think because I was in the field most of the time. And they like mid-December, they call me, say, you get the fellowship. You need to be in the US in like January 2nd, something. I say, what? Huh? So I come to Belém to visit my family. They took care of everything, and there was a small detail in the middle of all that. I had no English. I didn't speak a single word in English. And my first sentence of English was in the flight from São Paulo to Dallas forward. There was a guy from São Paulo next to me. And I was like, hey, man, how do you say I don't speak English? How do you say eu não falo inglês? Say, I don't speak English. So my flight was learning a lot of, like, so I went to Texas, a small town called Denton, very, very good school based on training international students. And I basically start from the pre-1, like, you know, I became like a guys in the, I don't know how to call, Jardim da Infância, I would say, but yeah, and then after what 8-something months, I moved to Gainesville, and I started my program with TCD. And then I start really more closely to Mariane and a lot of the professors there. Stephen Person, Nigel Smith, Dr. Wood, all these people. I took that seminar, 12 years ago, and now it was good to be part of it again. And on TCD, I started, there was a lot of students working Acre, a lot of Mariane students working Acre. There was movement in Acre also on collaborative research in the tri-national frontier of Acre, Peru, and Bolivia, and we have a project involved in that. So I was, and also I got a focus my research with the Chico Mendes Structural Reserve, look at land use, land coverage change, livelihood, transformation, social organization stuff. And that's another group of people part of that time in doing research in the field, being part of the collaboration with small investing in Bolivia, Pando, and Madre de Deus in Peru. And we realized we have the same kind of problem, cultural difference, the same kind of problem. So the map was very much putting together ideas of environmental issue, development, economic and social justice, how you collaborate in the same region. And it's still going on. And Foster Brown, the guy who I show you the picture early, is still very much engaged in this idea that's going there. In the 2000s, I finished my doctoral at UF in 2009, I think. And I moved back to Acre. And then I say, okay, now, and then I invitation to work very close, to work actually as a advisor for the Acre government. The governor of Acre was a guy called Binho Marque. He was a close ally of Chico Mendes. And even though there was this idea, this public policy improved a lot in Acre, he has a very clear idea that it was enough, that this public policy needs to go to the people that are really the most far away, upstream the rivers, in the center of the forest. So he created a program called ProAcre that was to deal with education, healthcare, and production for specific for this group of people, and was funded by the World Bank. So I got engaged in the planning of development planning of 100 of a small community in Acre, the whole 22 municipality. That's Binho Marque. So you plan these ideas, listen to the community, make a document, and then the governor is there to say, we are gonna do that. So again, very much involved in the field and in the community-based development ideas in Acre. And I worked here for 3 years on that. And then there was a new government, and I was invited to work to the Nature Conservancy in the Amazon. And that was kind of very nice idea, because I moved from Pará too early on. All my career was in Acre, and then this was gonna give me opportunity to see, to work in different places. And there was a lot of this environmental issue in the Amazon, and environmental governance was getting much stronger. And the Nature Conservancy has a program to help improve the local environmental governance in the municipality that where deforestation was going on. That's the map is like this really red things. The municipality that are with high deforestation rate in the region. And that's where the place where I went. I went working in São Félix do Xingu. So that was nice, because I knew Marianne working there in the 70s, the 80s. I went to work in Novo Progresso. Another is in BR-163, another part of the Amazon. I went to work in Paragominas. Another is more in Nordeste Paraense, in the northern side. I went to work in Santarém. So there was 4 different places in Altamira, and all of them was priority for the federal government to control deforestation in the Amazon. That municipality, I was coordinating projects related scale cattle ranching, and that's why it's in Paragominas. And then in São Félix do Xingu, I was much more involved with the smallholder community to restore degraded land. Santarém, I was coordinating project on monitoring soybean, large scale production of soybean in a very ecological unique region of the Amazon, the Santarém region. And that's a picture of work with a smallholder family in São Félix do Xingu. The idea is these people are there. It's a very area with a large scale cattle ranch in the regions, the first, the second municipality of cattle ranch production in the region, but it's still a lot of around 10,000 people work in smallholder agriculture. So the idea is what you're gonna do is to degrade pasture area. So the idea was to bring back this area to production as a way to improve the quality of life and stay in the land. So that's why agroforestry system with cocoa, cacao, that has a very good price in the region right now. Pará is producing more cacao now than Bahia, for example. That's the monitoring soybean production in the region, in Santarém region, very much, and working with, have a group work with me of people with very good skill in remote sensing, and monitor if the people who was producing soil they had actually stopped deforestation. The idea is the TNC is going to control deforestation, and Cargill was with the commitment to buy soybean, only the one who stopped, don't deforest primary forest anymore. And I was the one who gave the list of this guy who can actually sell soybean to Cargill. That's why it's my main responsibility to say, this one cannot stay in your list because it's not doing what they have committed to. That's the Novo Progresso, some picture in the Novo Progresso region, a very a region with very deep agrarian issues like land speculation in cattle ranching and basically in conflict. One of the more conflict municipalities in the region, I think. So the idea is that in all these municipalities, there was a lot of instruments to monitor and to improve local governance. CAR, the environmental resist, was kind of a baseline one. All of them I was also coordinating, stimulating people to, the landowner to have the CAR, because the CAR becoming a very important instrument to monitoring illegal deforestation. So moving dialogue with these people, Novo Progresso, I spent 1.5 years there. I can tell you I wasn't successful, São Félix do Xingu, we did a lot of improvement in the commitment of local government, the productive sectors, and economic return through pilot program like cacao and cattle production. I saw Mariane put a paper by Denise Francisco from things that was part of the work in São Félix do Xingu. That's something that I make me really keep working on NGO, spending 10, 12 hours in the BR-163 to get to the meeting the next morning to talk with the mayor, with all the local authority, convincing them that they have to stop deforestation and doing car, all this kind of issue. I didn't know I had that picture until last night. After I think 4 years work with the Nature Conservancy, I had the opportunity to apply to Federal University of Pará. So you have a program here to already for 20 years who works with small farming in the Amazon, very much concentrated with in the Marabá, Altamira region. That was the origin of the program. So there is a master program here based on that. And I'm here for the last 3 years. When I got here, I helped to create a new one based on that experience of working Acre and work with the small, medium, and larger produce in the Amazon, and very much sure that protect area in the Amazon has improved a lot. There is a diversity of type of sustainable protection area, social cultural difference among different groups. We still don't have a graduate program focused on that in the Amazon. So I helped to create this program, and now I'm coordinating. We have finished the first turma, the first class next week actually. So the idea of the program is to work with giving to this group of professionals who come from different backgrounds and key concept related to traditional population, territorial and political issues, and then a more methodological approach on how analyze a smallholding at a unit level. And then a final part of the course is related to dialogue agrostrategist, focus on management and development issues. And that's an experience that I think is going to be growing here. And we are very optimistic about how we can contribute in the academia within the new professional interest in this kind of issues. I guess you guys watch Marianne movie, and that was my first time and try to.
Yeah, we're going to look at a few clips today.
Yeah, it's a new one, Marianne.
Great.
Okay. The first thing, Marianne, I think I didn't plan things on how my career involved, but I really feel that things where I can put my energy and give a lot of my feeling about trying to do something good. And so I work with the Acre government. I work in leading this project with the 6 NGO of the state, small institutions, and I went to one of the small university in Brazil, and then I went to Gainesville, and then I come to Belém. I work in the biggest environmental NGO in the world. But I think I learned to dialogue at the low and the high level. I think that's not an easy skill to people who are concerned about working with environmental issues, and I think that you must be moved by passion, otherwise the picture I show, like I was driving 12 hours in the BR-163, you don't have that, you are not going to do that trip, you are not going to do that work. And you have to have some key skill actually to do that. And a lot of that skill you learn in the way. I think my contribution was to on capacity building of local government. I think in Pará I couldn't do that a lot. A small town in the Santarém region that the environmental secretary has was like nothing. You know, I went out there with a lot of money, like work at DNC. That's why the, the great things, like I had millions of reais to spend every year. And if you make the right decision, you can make the difference. In a lot of ways, you cannot be able to measure that difference in the short term. So there is things out there. And now I'm excited. Like I become a professor for the last 3 years, and I really feel excited about what I can see and how how I think that of the new generation, you have to get some kind of basic skill to deal with a such a complex issue in the Amazon, specifically with protected area. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the biology is gonna solve the problem, the anthropology, but you have to get like skill that are very much interdisciplinary. You have to have that kind of ability. So the map is like was a great experiment. Like people working together. We have a small place, a small state. Acre is the size of Altamira, one of the municipality in Pará. So we can. And Foster was a visionary in that because that issue is like the same environmental issue. The Acre River, we have the same environmental problem. People live in the border of Peru or Bolivia in Brazil. So how to put together ideas to work through NGOs, local government, social civil organization in different themes. So you deal with environmental issues, we deal with water issues, we deal with global change issues. So there is people interact in different teams, get together and think about project, think about idea of dealing with all kind of issue that can the society are facing right there. Steven Presser has a book on that. It's very nicely written. I suggest to take a look on that book.